Mylo
do?
fucking Stone. How are you doing, buddy?
Bro, I've got like actual lighting, right? So where, where is this better or is this better?
The other way.
The other way, yeah. Is actually just my lampshade.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
same lampshade that I just shot that video with red. It's had multi purposes.
Hey, man, that's what you got to do when you're underground hip hop. You got to
DIY,
do
man.
what you got to
DIY
do.
till I die. Hmm.
Not very gangster of you, though. Lighting and all that shit.
Yeah. Believe me, if you saw this setup behind me, I've got the camera like just balanced on top of a NutriBullet, and then my lampshade, my lampshade here. That's basically my setup.
I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you doing this, man. I know we've been trying to do it for a bit, sort of finally get a
Mm.
chance to do it. I know we met in person last year, but get a chance to get on here and do this for the
Yeah,
rest.
amazing, man. How are you, bro? Are we doing this now, or are we gonna do it from a point?
I mean, I'm recording it now. If it all is fine, then
Yeah.
that's cool. If I don't have to, but
Okay. Cool. 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 Cool.
yeah,
We'll go from here. It's only a conversation anyway, isn't it?
yeah. No, man, I'm doing well. Just doing my thing, trying to keep up with you guys over there and try to do my best with
Yeah.
that and doing my own music thing and then trying to write and uh,
Crooked
you know,
digit. Have you got crooked digits?
yeah, yeah, I do. It's they're well, see, they're all I don't know if you can see it or not, but they're all fucked
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
from years of playing basketball and stuff. They're all
yeah.
messed, man. Every finger I have has been broken, so I figured it's a pretty it's a pretty cool name, but um
Yeah, man. Wear your scars. You got to wear your scars, man. That's part of it, isn't
that's right. That's right. Um Speaking of which,
it?
um tell me a little bit about the idea of your new album dropping.
Okay, so yeah, it's dropping. I don't know when this is coming out, but it's gonna drop on the fourth 24. Yeah, it's called Pirate King. Basically, shout out. I've got a lady called Nat out in Australia. She's gonna book us out there. She's a sound engineer. She's really really lovely lady, and I'm dropping all these singles and the EPs and stuff. And she was like, "Why don't you?" She's really Australian, so she's like, "When are you gonna put out your get on your big boy pants and put out an album?" And it sort of like ripped me into it. And then Reds as well was just saying like, "Look, we need kind of you need to do an album, man, just to sort of say." So yeah, I kind of with the album. It was such a crazy process because I started writing for it, and then my engineer Roller. I mean, I don't go too much into his life because he's quite a private guy, but he came under some health problems, and I said, "Well, I'm not going to record it with anybody else. I just don't want to." We've always had for the big ones, we've always had. It's always been Roller. So so I wrote all the way through the summer, and then through the summer, I've always been on this sobriety stuff. Through the summer, I relapsed, and loads of stuff happened, and it was chaos, and then it was good, and then I was kind of life was back on track. So the whole album is that basically, like the whole album is sort of going through this sort of quite shaky patch. And it wasn't anything too dramatic, do you know what I mean? But it came out in the bars, and obviously as a rapper and as an artist, everything's going to be accentuated and kind of exaggerated, like not exaggerated, but I'm gonna try and make it as poetic and stuff as I can. So it's kind of like my journey through last year's summer, and then eventually when I got to record it, it was done in such a short amount of time because I was like ready, like I'd been ready. I had these songs, but then when I went into the studio, um, I had a few ill-informed beats, and then that kid who's produced some of it, he gave me these couple beats, which is the single that's dropping tomorrow and the lead single, and they changed it all. So I dropped a load of songs, and then I kind of written a load of new songs. So the whole vibe changed, and Ill Informed was very much a big influence because he was like, it's got to be one sound. So like I think there was one song I had of Ill Informed, and he was like, "Nah, you can't have that anymore because it's not the right sound." And I was just like, "Fuck, it's so annoying." Like, so it was a real process, you know what I mean? And yeah, kind of that kid changed the sound to what it was, a bit more like I was gonna have bangers on there and stuff. And like now it's like it's a listening album, really. You know, quite a lot. Quite a lot of the tunes are kind of deep. One, due to the experiences through last summer, and two, through the music kind of dictating it. Do you know what I mean?
Couple of things I want to touch on.
Mm.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the first, you had mentioned that this is the first production, like the first production that kid will have released
Yeah,
out there in the world. Yeah.
yeah. So he's yeah, that he's like had a lot of changes in his life, and now he's kind of in a more settled place. And yeah, he started making these beats, and it's kind of rekindled a working relationship with him and myself. You know, we've always been really close, but it's kind of just he just started like my phone's pinging 10 o'clock at night. Just beats are coming. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And then all of a sudden, I mean, we've got like crazy stuff to come after this album. Do you know what I mean? So it's just, so yeah, I think he did do one beat on something before, but okay. I don't know if people have heard it, but yeah, I mean, honest to God, like I'll let him tell his own story another time, but I think he's going to surprise people in the next couple of years. I think you're going to see a completely all new bells and whistles, that kid, you know, because he's going to be, you know, really heavily into the production side of things.
That's cool, man. Now, when I started the interview there with you, I was talking about your scars, right? And and then you talked about this past summer and the up and down. Is that kind of like the wavy aspect of it, which is that where the whole pirate theme came from, or is that a whole other?
Yeah, the Kingsway, the pirate thing comes from. I've had a really long, way before even, you know, way before it's in Bristol even. Like, I'm from Plymouth, I'm from Devon, which is the coast. I'm from the sea. And I've always been a pirate nerd. Like I could talk to somebody for hours on end about pirate history. And so like loads of people used to always, when I come up to Bristol, I was probably living quite piratey. Do you know what I mean? I was sort of pillaging and plundering. And yeah, because I think like 2 a.m. at parties, I'd end up putting on pirate documentaries. So loads of people would be like, oh yeah, like I'd have this moniker of like being piratey all the time anyway. So it's kind of like an extension of that. But yeah, the King's Wave, yeah, just being out to sea. You know, I refer in the new single, you know, Lost at Sea. It's like being lost in the wave, finding your way. You know, there's just a ton of metaphors around the ocean, and it all kind of ties into where I'm from. If people know, Plymouth is very much as a naval city. So it's called the Ocean City. It's literally like a lost city by the ocean. And so yeah, it's very much like it's all got that nautical theme, you know.
And you know, underground hip hop too has that. It's, I mean, if there's ever anything you compare it to, it would be pirates. I mean, it's always it's always been that way.
We've all got missing teeth, you know, and we've all got scurvy. You know, yeah, and this is it, man. And yeah, just the scars element. I mean, like it's like, you know, in the summer, it's like, you know, it was a bit ropey, and there were loads of things that happened. You know, I think last year was really ropey for a lot of my circle of friends. You know what I mean? So yeah, now there's a new energy this year, I feel.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, when you're talking about was Plymouth, you said? Was it?
Yeah.
Is that where you kind of first discovered, like, I don't know, how old were you when you came up here, or whatever, but like, is that where you first discovered hip hop and made that kind of connection? Like when you for me, I'm sure you've heard my story. If not, when I first heard Kumo D, that was my first introduction to rap music. And the second that I heard it, I was like, okay, this is whatever this is, I love it, and this is what I'm going to be about forever. And
Yeah.
that was it. It's been me since I was 13 years old. So what was your moment, if you can remember?
Yeah, I remember it vividly. So I was kind of I was heavily into Michael Jackson when I was a kid. Heavily into Michael Jackson. All I wanted to do was dance like Michael Jackson. I used to dance like him. And my sister said to me, "No, I think she had a Houdini tape,
Oh,
and
nice.
it was really early stuff. Do you know what I mean?" And at the time, it was kind of like the fad. Um, uh, it was a big rave scene. The rave scene was huge in Plymouth, huge. Like the hip hop scene was huge in Plymouth. And she was like, "We need to be in a rap group, and we're going to be called the Too Tough Crew." And you know, a really original name, the Too Tough Crew. And I was like, "No, I don't want to. I just want to dance. You know, I want to be a dancer. You know, I was such a gentle kid. You know, before the trouble. You know, like I was such a gentle kid, and she was like, "No, you're going to be a rapper." So we wrote these raps, and she pretty much forced me into it. There was a youth center called Reese Youth Center, and she would take me there when I was a kid, you know, like 12, 13. And and then I got into, they would have battles. They would battle to get on the mic at the youth center. And then I just kind of got a peer group, you know, from then. And it was more like, I didn't think I had that eureka moment. I guess I did with like Hijack, groups like Hijack Horns of Jericho changed everything for me. And there's a record by Music of Life. It's a live record with like the Demon Boys, Daddy Freddy's on there, all the really early UK ragga hip hop. But it was more that it was like all the cool boys that I really looked up to, who are all real tough guys as well. You know, it was a really weird time in Plymouth. You know, it was intersped with graffiti, football hooliganism, and hip hop, and it was such a strange mix of like violence and, you know, but then you know, people doing their outlines, but because it was seen as rebellious. But I look back now and I'm like, you're literally like a tough guy, but then you're going, look at my picture, isn't it good? You know what I mean? You know, so there was this kind of innocence and yet obviously, you know, quite rough area. So I was just really influenced by that, and I've always had like hero worship of, you know, all my peers. There were loads of graph writers back in that I was a graph writer first for like, Jesus man, like years, you know, 10 plus years. And that was what I thought I was going to do. I rapped as well, but I was like, I just wanted to be a vandal, you know, like that was my main thing. Going out at night, it was exciting. But you know, as you know, like back then it was a culture. So it was, you know, everybody could do a baby scratch, everybody could top rock, everybody could do a tag, and everybody had one rap, you know, like, so it could have been potluck which way you went. But yeah, basically then I just got into the music scene in Plymouth, and that opened me up to way more stuff, you know, like the punk scene, the rock scene, because it's quite a small community. The music scene is the music scene, so it's not defined by the hip hop scene or the rock scene. It's just there's only, you know, there was only like 8 clubs, so I just got this incredible education of like really, you know, hardcore punk rock, hip hop, the rave scene, all of it, you know, like, so that's kind of, I just got lost in it, you know, like to this day, I'm not a Puritan with hip hop, you know, like.
That's what I was going to ask you. How much of an influence has that had, do you think, on as you as an artist as a whole, like all the
I
different
think the
music?
punk rock thing, like some of my heroes like Henry Rollins and Ian Mackay from Fugazi and Black Flag, and just their ethic and the way that they do stuff is way more of an influence to me than, I don't know, you know, modern hip hop and stuff. Just the fact that they were all in a van, they went on tour for 10 years. They were just all about the music. They were militant, they were poor and dirty. just, kind of real rough and tumble people, but they were very militant about what they did, like, so I feel like my approach to hip hop, yeah, it has like a real punk rock thing behind it. Not that I'm very punk rock these days, but
Well, I can feel you, man. We're both a little bit long in the tooth. I'm a little bit longer in the tooth than yourself, but having said that, I mean, you've gone from the early stages, 13, 14 years old. Obviously, you've seen a lot in the scene. You've seen it grow, and like, what is your overall? I don't want to say opinion, but kind of like, give me your sense of where it's come from and what it is now.
So I feel like hip hop. I've seen it go through maybe like three UK hip hop. I've seen it go through like at least three waves, and they all have the same thing. They all have the same pattern. Someone gets big, signed. Back in the day, the early days, it was Hijack. They got signed by Ice-T. I think it was Ice-T. It was like, everyone's going to be famous. Yeah, UK hip hop's about to blow up. Everyone's going to be famous. Then nobody gets famous, and then it dies, and then it gets more creative because you're just left with the people that literally just do it. You're left with the careerists, and all the kind of hangers on just leave, and they get into something else, and then you're left with like the people that are really in it. The same happened with, Blade got signed to Virgin. I mean, I remember when he was on Top of the Pops, which was the big, music show, and it was just like, there's one of ours, like he's on the TV. It's, and this is pre-internet. I think this was pre-internet, or definitely pre, like, Instagram and stuff like that. It was definitely, I think it's pre-internet, and it was wild. And then everybody thought they were going to get famous, and some people did. I mean, Blake got, he was signed to Virgin, then it died again, and then so I see these cycles, and I feel like the cycle that we're in now, after the rise of like all these great people, like I feel like nobody's not big in UK hip hop that doesn't deserve it. There's people might disagree with me, but High Focus do deserve it. They're the hardest working label in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like Split Profits are just all killers on the mic. All these people. I feel like Sonny Jim, an assassin. Do you know what I mean? An assassin that's put so much work into it. So yeah, I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but yeah, I feel like it's in a state now where it's dipped again, and people have gone over to drill and they've gone over to grime, and that's almost like my favorite time, because everyone did that, and I feel like the digital streaming stuff has really leveled the playground a little bit. So it's kind of like you can just do it now. I can go and I do it. I go in the studio, I get my little bit of artwork, screenshot something off Instagram as my artwork, and it's the most punk rock time for hip hop. And then I put it out, and it's out in 4 weeks, and then people like it or they don't like it, and then I do another one, and I do another one, and it's, for me, it's almost never been more DIY. I understand the frustration of artists that are on a bigger level than me, who have seen it as a career path. But for me, I don't give a fuck. I've got a career. I don't give a fuck about them, any money, really. Like, if you want to give me some money, I'll rap at you. Do you know what I mean? But like, but I don't really. I just don't care about that. So for me, it's the freest time, because it's absolute freedom in the artwork, in the distribution, in getting out there. You basically, I was speaking to somebody the other day, and it's like the hustle's back. There was a point where it's like, in UK hip hop, and this is so true in films, American hip hop, you had to be in the gang, and if you weren't in the gang, no one knew you. So there was this higher echelon of like the people that you needed to know to get through. Now it's about the hustle. It's like if you're at every show and you're dropping singles all the time, and your promos up, and you're shouting your mouth off on Instagram, people will notice you, you know, like I feel, you know, I feel like that's the hustle is now stronger than ever.
Does it also lead to, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say there's too many MCs and not enough fans. Does that lead to
Yeah,
that being an issue? Is it
but
it's too easy in one way?
but then I feel like this little pocket of like what they call UK hip hop just needs to fucking grow the fuck up. You know, like it's you know, it's constantly in this Oxfam state, in this charity state where they're saying you need to support and shit. It's just so unattractive. If I
Hmm.
was somebody that wasn't into it, you know, then there was just like, oh yeah, there's these bunch of blokes, mainly blokes, saying you need to support me, you need to support me, and it's just like so unattractive. It's like the whereas you know, I feel like I don't. I'm trying to push. You know, I work with American artists. I work with French artists. I'm trying to see myself. I don't know. Just I don't want to work with musicians. You know, just see myself as a fucking artist. You know, like rather than a UK hip hop guy. Do you know what I mean? Because with the UK hip hop thing, it's about this big. There's about 500 people that are into it. You know what I mean? So it's like you're trying to make a career of fucking 500 people who are probably all rappers as well.
Well,
You know what I mean? It's kind of ridiculous, but I still think it's great though. You know, like I'm not one of these people that's like down on it. I feel like it's great, but I feel to really, if you really want to make music, then you need to fucking get out of that mind state that you're a UK hip hop artist. You know?
well, yeah. And you know what? I can attest to that because I mean, I can put out I can react to a track that I think is just absolute bonkers, and I
Mm,
think everybody in the planet needs to hear this, and
yeah,
I'll get 120 views on it, right?
yeah,
And no matter how much I try to push that or whatever, doesn't matter, right? Um, and I feel frustration for the artists themselves.
mm,
But when I was interviewing Capo, he said something very interesting. He interested me. He had his own kind of definition of success, right? Of what, some people they deem their success with like views, monetary, like how much money you make.
mm.
Um, and you just mentioned yourself, like throw some money at me, I'll rap at you, but you're not in it for the money. You're doing, you just want to be known as an artist. And is that kind of how you define your success then?
So,
Or
yeah, I mean, like this is like leads on to something I was chatting to Frennick about the other day. Is like this fucking hip hop shit. I was ranting to Roller about it this morning. Anybody doesn't know, these are all my engineers and producers. But like, I was saying this shit has given me like purpose, given me community, given me a sense of self, given me an outlet for expressing myself, given me um, just so many things. It saved my life. Like this is so much bigger than money. Like people
Mhm.
say like about money, it's like, what? Why do I need money? You know, like, I'll get that money what so I can buy some more stuff. It's like this is much bigger than money. This is your purpose in life. This is something that no one can take away from you. I have moments on stage with my bro Frennick, who's DJs for me, and Young George, who does the bass. We have moments on stage where I'm like, this will last with me forever. This
Mhm.
is when you're truly present in that moment, that any energy exchange of a crowd, or being in a studio when you lock it in with somebody and you know, you're like, you have that vibe with people. The process is the prize. The
Mhm.
process is worth more than anything. Do you know what I mean? Like money's got nothing to do with it. It's got nothing to do. Money feels really cheap to me compared to these experiences that I've had, especially in the last couple of years, because I've had nothing. I've had a lot. You know, like I've lived in situations where I was living in a very sort of I was living in a penthouse in Manila. You know, like I've lived in these situations where it was like everybody around me had money, and then I've lived where I was sofa surfing and I was having to find a place to live. And that it's like I know that, like, yeah, we'd all love to like make a career out of music, but it's like these moments in time, which is truly all we have, are so precious, and they all come from this process that we do. The process is so much more important. The process is the success. The process is, because what am I going to do? Say I get money, what am I going to do? I'm just going to spend more time in the studio. I'm going to play on ages. That's all I want to do. And I'm already doing it. I used to dream a lot about, you know, like everybody does this, you know, if I won the lottery, you know, I'd have like 15 million pounds. And I had this eureka moment a couple of years ago where I was like, yeah, and I'd do this, and I'd go to the gym every day, and I'd have this amazing, and I'd like have all these vitamins I could take, and I'd do music, and I was like, I can do all those things. I don't need £1 million to do all those things. And I do all those things, you know, like, so it's just kind of, money might make things a little bit easier, but like, you know, don't be fooled. It's not really going to change anything. You either do it or you don't.
You know, I agree with that 100%. And it's funny how your mindset changes, because same thing. I've always done that too. Dream of the lottery. You know, what do I do, and all kind of stuff.
Like poor people, you know. Like,
yeah, you know. And the funny thing is that like the friendships and stuff I've made through the channel, meeting you guys and everything. Right now, when I think about that time, when, you know, I win the lottery, one of the very first things I start thinking about is investing in you guys, right?
Yeah.
Having you guys over here in over in Canada do a big show, because I could afford to pay everyone to come over and all that kind of stuff. It's funny how the mindset, when you find what you're truly supposed to be doing and who you're supposed to be around, completely changes your mindset, right?
Yeah, and this gone.
No, just and you begin to realize what truly is important in life, and not I mean, sure, I mean, it'd be great if, you know, money was no object. Of course that'd be great, but you know, Jake and I talk about the channel quite a bit, obviously, and you know, one of the things I don't do is monetize the channel. I don't take any, like, I don't put ads on any of the things, because and at times I do get a little bit down on the views, because like I said earlier, it bugs me that I don't care about myself. I care about the artists who I do. But like he always said, you know what, if you wanted the views, if you wanted you know, make money off YouTube, just go and do UK grime and do drill and all that kind of stuff, and you'd get tens of thousands of views per video. Right? But he said, but you know what, you wouldn't be sitting in a Chinese restaurant with Mylo Stone.
Yeah.
Right? So
oh God, you really took the short straw, didn't you?
but that's the thing, right? I mean, what's more important in life, right?
And I always feel like this ambition is like so close to suffering, you know, like this kind of, you know, I've seen people get a large amount of success. I know people outside of hip hop that are really successful in music, and they all say the same thing. It's like so much further to fall than, and it all does happen, you know. Like I'm not saying I love. There's people that I know have really big ambition in this, and I'm their biggest cheerleader. But for me, that ambition is it's a bedfellow of suffering, because it's never enough. Like I'll never run out of fuel because I'm going nowhere. It's kind of, but it's like, because the only place I'm going is the studio. The only place I'm going is to continue what I'm doing. And like, say that might get bigger, you know, it has got bigger. It's kind of, you know, it's started off for me and Rogie in the studio, and you know, now it's a lot more people are part of the puzzle now. So it has got bigger, but I'm still doing the same thing, because and I just try and stay present with that, because I feel like I could easily look at some of my, you know, some of my best friends. Like my best friends are like split profits, you know what I mean? Have been incredibly successful, but it's like I used to, when I wasn't doing music, when I had my big sort of dead years of doing nothing, I used to be like, oh, them boys are off doing it, and And I was really, I was really kind of bitter, like
Mhm.
not bitter. I wasn't bitter, but my energy was like, I wish I was doing that, and it was suffering, So now it's like I try and just wipe all that shit away, man. Like I just focus, try not to think, just create. Like Andy Warhol is a big component of that. Just don't think about it, just do it. Be a machine. Like
You bring up Split Profits there, and everyone knows your connection to them. Uh,
yeah.
are they the reason why you came up to Bristol, or did you meet them when you're already up here or up there? Sorry.
No, I when I came to Bristol, oh my God, they were kids, yeah. So like I didn't I was playing in a crew called the Bastard Sons. So it was first there was a crew called the Swamps, then the Bastard Sons. And when we were on the circuit in Bristol, um, there wasn't really a lot going on. There was a bits going on. I don't want to insult anybody by saying that, but like there certainly wasn't the Bristol wave that now, Split Profits. Like we supported MF Doom, and that's the first time I met Rez, and up front they came down on their push bikes, and they were kids. Do you know what I mean? They were maybe 19, um, and and they were young kids. You know what I mean, real scallies. Absolute trouble. So I was older. I'd already been doing music for years, but then they kind of blew, and I went and got drunk for 8 years or something. But like but yeah, so I moved up to Bristol to do music, but to get away from a lot of stuff that I was up to in Plymouth. I basically jumped out of the fire into the frying pan, or however the phrase goes.
Right. Yeah.
I still look back and laugh that I was like, I moved to Bristol to get straight. Get straight up. What was I thinking?
As Split Profits was making their rise, you were kind of falling off your own doing. Um, was it the music itself, like kind of what saved you? Because I think you said at the beginning that music saved your life. Is during that spiral, was it the love of music that kind of got you to swing back up? And
there were so many factors. It's like, and I talk about it in dramatic terms because it was very dramatic for me, like, but it wasn't anything out of the norm. There was a kind of timeline where myself and Percy Filth, we put out something End of Level Boss music with a ton of people on there, BBA's on there, Sonny Jim. There's a ton of people, and we were kind of soaring after that. But I just got wavy, and then I see it in a lot of people. It's just I just span my wheels. You just find me at 2 a.m. talking about, well, I'm gonna make this album, and like I'm gonna do this, and then I wake up with a hangover, don't do anything, and then I repeat the process, and I just stayed like that. It wasn't really till my daughter came along that was my kind of eureka moment where I was just like, okay, I'm going to give up music completely and just pursue something else. But then her life and her energy, and just seeing how relentlessly into anything that she wants to be into, just at the switch of a finger and just at the click of a finger, and just going, right, let's go and do this. And that energy, I was just like, oh yeah, it just brought me up, like, so I was like, yeah, let's just write a rap. I'll go around roadies and, just write some raps. It's easy, brought out the child in me,
Well, I mean, I have a 17-year-old daughter and 20-year-old stepdaughter, and it's funny because they can equally make you feel old and young at the same time. Like sometimes
Yeah,
it's hard.
it's just like anybody that knows me, anybody sees my Instagram story, and I'm sure they're sick of to death of me going, look at my daughter pulling this funny face. But it was so life-changing for me, and it was something that I feel like was, I needed something bigger than myself, some sort of higher power to make me feel. And don't get me wrong, it did take me a few years into that. Me and her mum broke up. We're still very good friends, and it's actually an idyllic situation. But it took me a few years. But just there was a moment where she was doing some drawing, and she was drawing this picture when she was a kid, and then she was just going, "Do you like that?" And then she was just chucking it on the floor and then just drawing another one. And I was like, she's literally just creating for the sake of creating. And it was just this big thing. I'm like, and then she actually, within the same month, I think she said, "Dad, you used to do, I've got records of me up on the wall and stuff." She was like, "You used to do music. Why don't you do music anymore?" And she just couldn't understand it. She's like, "Why don't you do it? It's fun." And I'm like, "Yeah, why don't I do it?" And it was just these two moments where I was just like, she's just creating. And I just remember that being a child of just, you just get into stuff. I want to do skateboarding. You just get a skateboard and just start. And I feel like I've kept that, like that's what I've been in the studio once or twice a week for the last 2 years. And I play shows all the time, and I'm constantly doing it because and it's not for any, there's no target, there's no I'm going to get here, there's no metric for it. I'm literally just doing it because and I'm trying not to think about why I'm doing it. I try not to analyze that. There's an amazing book by Stephen Pressfield called it's called The Art of War. No, The War of Art.
War of Art, yeah.
And that says, like, if you want to do something, you have to evoke the muse. And to evoke the muse, the muse needs to see you working. So it's like militantly I have for the last 2 years. I do the school run, I come home, I get my coffee, the beats go on, and I do an hour's writing, then I do an hour's rapping out loud. And I've just done that relentlessly for years now. And I've seen myself progress more than I've ever progressed in my life. Like, just not to anybody else's metric, but to my own personal metric of where I want to go, and artistically. And that just comes from falling in love with the process. You've got, like the gym, you go to the gym because you want a result, but you have to fall in love with the process of going to the gym. You have to fall in love with putting your earphones on, getting a sweat on. That's the people that continue to go to the gym. If you go there for some reason, like, I want to look like this, eventually you just lose heart. Ambition, again, it goes back to this thing that ambition is almost the killer of all creativity. You need to fall in love with that process, and then you have longevity, because there's nothing that can, there's no thing that I used to look at it. We got a little bit of love with End of Level Boss. We got, like tens of thousands of views. And then that fucked me up, because I was just like, oh, everyone likes me now. And like, I was in this festivals with Split Profits, and a few people came up to me, and I was like, oh yeah. And this is what happens with UK hip hop, is people go, yeah, I've got a chance. I'm not saying that's not a bad thing, like, especially there's some people that I feel that could make careers out of it. But for me, it's like the death of everything. I need to stay away the fuck away from all of that. I need to be in a studio with Frenic or Roller. I need to be in the quiet, or I need to be with my brothers writing, or I need to be on a stage and just not look at anything else.
I think that's a great attitude to have. And I think now more than ever, I think there is that, there's that desire for instant gratification, and then it's never enough these days, right? Like, it needs to happen.
Never enough. It won't ever be enough.
Yeah.
There's Conway the Machine. All he raps about is that he's like not considered the GOAT, and like, it's never enough money. It's never enough props. It's never enough praise. That shit is fucking poison. This is what a lot of people, when I say about the, I say fuck money, love music shit. A lot of people, it's quite, I don't know. I've literally had quite a few conversations with people that are like almost offended by that. But it's me protecting myself. It's like, the minute I get that involved, then because I've got a big ego, and I'm an addict, So like, you chuck them things into the mix of me, and I'll go after them, and I'll destroy myself going after them. So I keep myself away from all that type of thinking, just from my own practices of like Buddhist recovery practices and stuff. keep myself away from all that thinking. And don't get me wrong, I do that. I'll get gassed up. You know, I'm just about to drop an album. People are telling me singles are good. I'm gassed up, but then I have to fucking get myself back in the studio, get myself alone in the studio, doing what I am, fall in love with that process again. You know, just stay away from all that shit. Because none of it. What does it really mean? You know, what does, you know, these streams and stuff? I like getting streams. I also find it all quite a novelty. You know, I think it's like a computer game.
Yeah.
But you just need to separate it. You need to compartmentalize it, and you know that that's nothing to do with the creative process. It should never change your sound. It should never change anything.
For me, it's kind of what you were saying about longevity, right? Those records on your wall is when you're gone, your daughter has those records. She can put that record on, hear you, hear you, hear your voice, hear your thoughts, what you're going through those stages in your life. For as long as YouTube exists, my daughter has my channel if she wants to go back and watch that nonsense. Or she has my writings, things that I've published, right? So I think that longevity too, I think that is a big reason why I do it as an artist, is just leaving something behind that's meaningful for somebody, whoever, my daughter or whoever else that needs it at that time.
Well, and it's also, it's like it's like Inca's heavily involved. You know, Inca's on stage with me. She's on my new album. She's got 16 bar on my new album, and it's like,
nice.
That was really important to me, that she sees it's all for her. You know, like she sees her dad being his true self. I don't want her to see, you know, so many people have kids and they just dampen all their dreams. There's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, I actually think it's really admirable. You know, like I come from parents, but I come from a dad who worked night shifts in a cement factory for 20 years just so we could eat, just so we weren't poor. Do you know what I mean? It's admirable. But also I wanted her to say, you know, like, because I knew I had all this, you know what I mean? I've been doing music for years, and like, yes, I just wanted her, it's all to just kind of, I don't know, it's my sense of identity, and it's something now I see in her. You know, she does all these things, you know, she raps and she dances and she does all this stuff. And it's just like, I had a friend whose, her daughter's coming down to photograph at my launch party, and it's like I was chatting to her about it, and I was like, this shit that saved our lives, this thing that gave us so much purpose and so much importance and so much community, is important. You know, this shit's important, man. It's bigger than popularity contests. You know, this is about, it's hip hop. Hip hop culture is about community. You know, like, it's a culture. It's like, you can't just do hip hop. You know, I feel like my whole shit is that I'm at shows. I know everyone in hip hop. Do you know what I mean? I know everybody on the Bristol scene. I know everybody. It's because I've always gone out and I've always taken part. You take part in hip hop. You don't just, going off on a bit of a rant, but like, you don't just kind of, you know, it's not just you sit. Just one big thing that kind of annoys me is that when people, well, I don't know, everybody's on their own trip, but it's just like, you can't just not put any effort into the community of hip hop and then just expect people to love you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you need to be involved in the scene, I think, like, to a certain extent.
I think the size of your country makes a huge difference too, because I know you've done stuff with Velour Falcons, like you had the Stone Falcons album that you did.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you. I thought that's what that was. I was going to ask you that.
Falcon, Mick Swagger made me this.
That's dope.
Yeah, like that's my boys, man. Like, you know, like Mick's come and play shows with me and Ill Informed in Prague. I don't know why I say Ill Informed. Like, Ill Informed was there. He didn't do anything, but he was there. We all went to Prague basically, and he, you know, he's heavily on my album. I'm just about to start doing some new stuff. Like, me and that kid are just about to do a tune with him. So I've kind of my big thing was linking people up. That's like been my big thing last couple of years. Even like, you know, at the dinner that we did for you, it was just like a lot of these people I hadn't met. Do you know what I mean? Like Converse hadn't met, loads of people I hadn't met. Res. That's the scene, man. Like I love that shit. Do you know what I mean? I'll sit at a table and just hold court for like ages. Do you know what I mean? Because that to me is, yeah, it's really powerful. You know, like, and for all Falcons, yeah, they're dope, man. I mean, yeah, I think they've got a lot more to come.
Yeah. And I like I like what you were saying about bringing it together, because I think that's what the smaller country makes it so easy, right? Because I mean, Canada's so huge. I there even seems to be in like say in Toronto, for example, the big city that I live nearby, um, their hip hop community is very fractured. Like it's a very competition type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, you're 3,000 kilometers away from Vancouver, so
Wow.
right, the idea of I guess the coming together that I love about UK hip hop is I never saw it as a kid growing up either, was that there just never seemed to be any cross pollination, right? You had a crew, and that's who you worked with. It was
Yeah.
very rare that you would see cats stepping over and doing things till much later. But I find that's what I love with you guys is like there's so much of that. Like the and it comes to with cats like you sitting down and introducing people. Like when the first time I came over, it was the first time that Barbarian met Skirmish.
Yeah.
They had never met, and now they're on a track together, right? So I take credit for that. You know, that's
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
but
beautiful thing, man. It's this. There was a real you know, we a lot of us come from there's a kind of promotion group called Sika Studios. So Sika was the people that brought pretty much everyone together. Like before High Focus existed, before any of that, you know, like I remember going on stage, Leaf Dog introduced us, and like Dyke was there, and we all got waved after. And every summer we would go back to these festivals. So they put on festivals that I think there was about 5 festivals throughout the summer, and everybody would go to these festivals. So every year, 5 times a year, everybody would meet. Like everybody, anybody you can think of in UK hip hop, we're all camping next to each other. Do you know what I mean? So it would be me and all the Bristol lots, Split Profits. But like, you know, this was very early days before any of that blew up. And that sense of that was a real golden era for me, you know, because that was just like everyone was a rapper, everybody was friendly. Do you know what I mean? Everybody was on the same level. And I feel like it's kind of gone back to that a little bit now. Like if you see people out places, I mean, I don't know. I know I can only really speak for Bristol, but I don't know. Like if you go to a hip hop night, like everyone knows each other. We just did the festival last year. We were on stage, and you know, we literally had a stage full of people. There was about 30 people on stage. You know, like Leafy was there, Jack Jetson's there, Illinform's there, like everybody you can think of. You know, and it's beautiful, man. Do you know what I mean? That's a beautiful thing. You know, like um, so yeah, UK hip hop. I think like if you're in it, sometimes you just go, oh, it's shit and stuff. But I've been in it, and then I got out of it, and then I spent years in the doldrums. So now I'm back with this sense of gratitude and this sense of like, oh yeah, because I knew what it was like when it just all disappears. Do you know what I mean? When I didn't, you know, I was just on my own most of the time. Do you know what I mean? I didn't really have any of those musical contacts anymore. And I think it just, and that comes from like proper friendship, you know, like me and the SP boys, me, you know, Bill Next is like one of my best friends. Like we play Xbox every night. Like we're all proper friends. You know what I mean? Like we'd be friends if music just stopped tomorrow.
right.
And that's the difference, I think.
I mean that itself has to be um inspiring itself, right? Because
Yeah.
you have these top shelf MCs
Mm.
always around you. You have some of the best producers on the planet.
Yeah, they all live.
You know,
Ill-Informed lives down there. Do you know what I mean? He lives down the road. He lives down the bottom, literally down the bottom of this road. And that's massive to me. That's like, I never used to hang with a lot of them because I wasn't as good. And in the last couple of years, I've humbled myself, and I've just gone like, I've wanted to be around them, and I've wanted to be around them in a musical sense because it's brought me up. You know, like most of my live shows, I've got Bill next on them, or they got Rez on them, or they got that kid on them. So I'm there with them, and it's only brought me up. Do you know what I mean? And as well, like they brought me up. You know, they've gone like, you know, that kid will just chuck me his beats. You know what I mean? And just be like, or if I ask anybody for a verse, and just the level is really high. You know, like that level between them, just not even anything to do with artistically or albums or anything, but just as sitting in a room rapping with people. If I'm sat in a room with all those boys, it's like the level is high, you know, so you've got to like raise up to it. So yeah, hopefully I'm still trying to do a all right job.
When the show you're talking about, is it this upcoming weekend or 2 weekends from now?
Yeah, so we've got a lot going on. We got my launch party, which is the 29th of March. And yeah, that's a big kind of, it's a small gathering, but it's on a fucking ship for the Pirate King album, and all my mates are gonna be there, you know, like everybody's on the bill, and like, you know, everybody's just been really lovely about it and not egotistical, and yeah, we're just gonna have a big party. And yeah, so I think we got like Split Profits, The Regiment, Slum Government, Converse, Raw Falcons, Ellie the Orcs is going to be doing her first. She's still unsure if she's going to do her first playlist live, Shotgun the Orcs playlist live. So Ellie's just got her DJ equipment, so Ellie's going to, hopefully she's going to be coming through this year with, you know, as a DJ, because she's basically got impeccable taste in hip hop.
She does, yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's just gonna be a big party, man. And the week after we got Onyx, we're supporting Onyx, and then we got loads coming up, man. We're going Prague. Me and Ill-Informed are going back to Prague in June. So yeah, it's gonna be good. And we've got the new live outfit, which is still me and Frenic, but we've got Young George on bass, and we're kind of really molding the set now. We've got a few little surprises in the set where we're just making it more musical. Okay. We're making it, you know, we're gonna have like Frenic's gonna do more with the turntables, with the live bass. We'll just I just want to put on a real show, do you know what I mean? Like a real fucking hip hop show where it's, you know, call and responses and switches and changes and intros, and, you know, like, because I feel like that's missing a little bit in UK hip hop. You know, people just get up and press play and go listen and think that's good enough.
Now, is this the first time? I mean, I usually try to keep an eye on who's doing what over there. This seems like it's been a long time since Split Profits as a collective have done a show. Am I wrong about that, or?
They did what we did one together. The last show was the Free Palestine show.
Okay.
And then SP come out for that. I think before that, they're kind of like the Wu-Tang, is like you never quite know who's going to turn up. Do you know what I mean? But like, but I think it was quite a while before that. So yeah, it'll be a big one. You know, obviously I'm not a dummy. You know, like I know that people love me, but I know that having SP on the bill is a blessing, and I know that a lot of people will be coming out to see that. And so yeah, it's going to be really cool, man. And I think it's a rare performance. You know, it's a rare performance.
Well, I'm hoping to get this out this week. So is there still tickets and stuff available for that show, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's only 120 capacity and the tickets are selling. So there's tickets. The link is in my bio. Yeah, try and get the tickets. I'm hoping that we just sell the tickets and then we know who's coming. But yeah, if not, then you might not get in. So go and buy the tickets.
Well, I appreciate you doing this, man. I know you're a great guy, and I consider you a friend, and I know a lot of cats dig your music. So I'm glad we could do this, and I really do wish I could be over there to see the album launch, but not this
Next
time.
time, bro.
Next time,
Next
yeah.
time, man. There will be lots of next times.
100%, man. I appreciate you and everything you do.
Appreciate you, man. Love always, from us, I speak on behalf of the entire UK hip hop community. But no, thank you so much, Joe.
All right, buddy. Take it easy, okay?
All right, then, bro. Big up.
Talk to you soon.